as I mentioned, we have a special guest today, Ben Gran. So Ben, would you like to introduce yourself a bit more officially, like where are you coming from, what's your background, or what you have done and what you're going to do next?
Sure. Okay. Well, that's a pretty big question, but let's start from the beginning. So what's my background? Well, I graduated as a nurse here in Metropolia in 2020. I've been working now as a nurse for the last 2.5 years. First as a nurse anesthetist for about 1 year, and then I moved to the Finnish Red Cross where I was doing blood donations. Currently, I'm unemployed and I'm starting my new job in 1 month. Well, it's kind of been like a transfer period between jobs. So, of course, I didn't just quit with no plans.
Rage quit.
No, nothing like that. I got the new job and decided to take a bit of a longer holiday in between work. So been traveling and looking after my home and waiting for a baby to come. So I was born in Finland. I've lived 6 years in Asia, in Singapore and Hong Kong, and 14 years in Sydney, Australia, where I did my first university degree in a Bachelor of Health and Movement and a postgrad in education. After graduating from there, I came here for the military, had a good time, went back to Australia, tried to get my visa. That didn't really work out. So I came back here and tried to basically rebuild my life from step one and, found the great course here in Metropolia for nursing. So I decided to go into that and things are looking pretty good. Had a lot of opportunities also when I was here in Metropolia, which was really, really great experience.
Yeah. So what other activities you had in Metropolia?
Well, first I was the international student ambassador. So I was working a lot with the marketing team for trying to gather more international students into Metropolia and going to a lot of the study affairs and things like that and promoting the university. So also with that, founder of Metropolia Entrepreneurship Society, METES, stepped down from my position there as the community developer at the end of 2021 because juggling a full-time job as a nurse anesthetist and working half-time at the university was just too much. So quit my job as a nurse anesthetist, started working at the Red Cross, and been taking it a little bit easier the last 1.5 years. When I started my nursing career, when I started studying nursing here, it was a bit of a struggle to begin with because I noticed that there was a lot of things in the healthcare system which weren't working in the manner that they should be working. And, that really, for a couple of years, I was doing my studies and going to my practical experiences and trying to basically get the most of what I could get from those. But then getting absorbed into the innovation and entrepreneur culture within Metropolia and the other universities here in Helsinki really sort of put that, goal in which way I want to go with my career. So I've done my 2 years experience as a nurse and now I'm going into the more corporate side of healthcare.
Nice.
Yeah. So really excited about that starting next Monday. Woo! Well, like I said, I was a little bit lost and confused during my studies in nursing and I was noticing a lot of things weren't working really well. And we had a course in innovation and management in healthcare. And that's when I sort of started to realize as nurses, we can think in an innovative way. We can actually be solving problems rather than just doing what we're told and taking care of patients. We can actually look at the healthcare system in a holistic way and try and find solutions to how to make things better. So we had innovation projects during that, and it was to come up with an innovative idea for a healthcare company or healthcare technology here in Finland. And that was basically the idea of hemodialysis bus that would follow tourist groups going around Finland who require kidney care. And so they could travel around Finland with a bus going around so they can get their treatment as well. So I basically had that as my front, which helped me get into the entrepreneurship and innovation scene. And when we had the assignment, we had a pitch. Was it like 3 or 5 minutes? And you were actually there judging it as well.
Yeah.
And that's when we met for the first time.
The first like serendipitous situation or coincidence, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And then we were sort of staying in contact. We had a venture camp to Cambridge, and you were there, I was there, and we were working on these projects, and you were lecturing, but it was a fun trip. We got to make lots of new friends and work on our business ideas a little bit, work on our pitches and this sort of thing. And after that, we stayed in contact for a little bit, and after a couple of months, you approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to start an entrepreneurship society for Metropolia?" And I was like, "Okay, like why not? Let's see how this goes." So
what the hell is it?
Yeah, I mean, you had been working on this for I don't know how long before you approached me, but you basically approached me and a couple other students.
Yeah.
When it was basically ready to be launched, for the first steps. So we worked on Metropolia Entrepreneurship Society at the mid 2019, and then it was officially launched at the beginning of 2020.
Yeah, the TED Talk that happened. So I believe that you had like the TEDx Talk in Metropolia when we had TEDx Talk organized by Metropolia.
When they have TEDx events, it's basically a privately organized event, and they come up with a theme, and then you basically apply to be a speaker for the event.
Okay.
So Metropolia had one, and I basically gathered my experiences and knowledge and what I believe is going on in the healthcare system and how we can improve it. And I did the TEDx talk in Metropolia from the beginning to the end, but I decided to withdraw it because there was some, I had drawn too many ideas from another TEDx talk, which speaks about similar topics. So once we had recorded and done all this sort of stuff, I decided to withdraw my TEDx talk from Metropolia.
Okay.
That was a really hard decision for me to do,
sure.
but I think it was basically the most noble thing to do because I didn't want to be plagiarizing other people's ideas.
Yeah, of course.
So I withdrew that, and then a few months later, we got approached when we were working at Metes by Oulu, some people at Oulu, that they were hosting a TEDx talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I already have my topic, I already have my speech, but it just needs to be made more original.
Yeah.
So I basically had a good outline of what I was going to talk about, changed a lot of the talking points, went a little bit more into depth about my topic, and basically had a little bit more time to think about what it really was that I wanted to, what message I truly wanted to portray.
Yeah.
So what happened was once the speeches are filmed, they are edited and then sent to the TED headquarters.
Right. Where is it located?
Somewhere in America.
Okay.
And well, it was a little bit, I was a little bit anxious because of what happened to me before when I decided to withdraw my original Metropolia TEDx speech. Yeah. And because a lot of the other speeches which I had done in Oulu, a lot of them had already been posted. And mine was posted about 2 months after everybody else.
Right.
So I was thinking, oh no, they're not going to post it, and like all the hard work that went into it's going to be wasted. But then they sent me an email saying like, hey, this is a really, really good speech, and it really is good for what's going on with the nursing crisis at the moment.
So this happened like in the middle of pandemia.
Yeah.
Wow. So
yeah,
stars were aligned basically.
Yeah, basically. And then they just said, we're just going to wait for the right time to post it. So they posted it in end of 2021. They approached me and said that they want to post it onto the TED website, which is going to help it get even more exposure, because for TEDx, they just post it on the individual TEDx website, the private entity of the TEDx, and YouTube, and then they select other TEDx speeches to be posted on the TEDx website. They make a podcast of it. It's basically just a recording of the speech onto Spotify, and that's it.
Wow. So that's a very, very fascinating story, like how you ended up from the innovation course to the TEDx talk and then eventually to the TED official webpage.
Yeah, big achievement.
What everyone, all the viewers and chatters, what you can do is you can find Ben's TED talk on TED.com, but yeah, probably like Ben Gran. If you Google Ben Gran TED, then it provides you the right link.
So basically, so during the whole nursing crisis, which is still going on, and with advancements in technology, especially within the healthcare sector, we need to start thinking about how can we develop more user-friendly technologies for frontline healthcare workers to use. And basically, my solution is to start off in the most fundamental level, and that is to start educating nurses more about innovation and give them more network opportunities so they can work as consultants and advisors when new technologies are being introduced and developed.
So reflecting to your own studies, so content-wise, where was the focus?
Mostly it was focused on theory and care.
Right.
When I was studying, and you basically get stuck in the little own nursing community within the university. But in my experience, I mean, I had a lot of networking opportunities at the university because I was seeking it.
Yeah.
I was actually looking for it, and I was open to go and do that when I was studying. But they don't offer that many opportunities if you're just going through the basic course. So I believe that they should include more of that in the basic nursing studies, whether that's like a specialty at the end of the course, or just have it more throughout the studies, where you can meet students from different educational backgrounds to try and solve problems. Because when you're trying to solve problems in any industry, you can't just have one way of thinking. You need to have the engineers and the business people, designers, everybody working together to come up with a solution rather than a group of like-minded people. Yeah, so they should definitely start incorporating more innovation education within the studies, where students are working with a range of different courses to solve problems.
Right.
So when we did our innovation course, it was more nurses working with nurses to try and solve a problem, but it lacked the sort of it lacked the aspect where we weren't working with like product designers or business people to make the innovative idea more liable, more like realistic.
Yeah.
So rather than just coming up with ideas, you can actually have a solid thing that could actually become something.
Yeah, something tangible.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Start again.
Take 3.
I love nursing, and I also love innovation. However, often when I speak about innovation within the field of nursing, I'm met with, and it's understandable. Innovation and technology within the healthcare sector is growing really fast. And sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to keep up with the new technologies. And now, as a new professional within the field, I'm slowly starting to relate a little bit more to this response. Us nurses are already really busy. We're not offered the opportunity to innovate. And quite frankly, we're not paid enough. However,
so the payment part.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that. What's the situation? What has been the situation, and has the situation improved?
From my understanding is that in the public side of nursing in Finland, the salaries have increased quite a decent amount.
Okay.
Something that I think that everybody should be happy about. But has the situation in the wards, in the hospitals changed? And that's another question that we also need to, the working conditions, have those changed where it is a sustainable and safe working operation for the workers and the patients? Because that's one of the things that, you know, when we're playing with people's lives, for example, you can't be understaffed. You need people to be in their best, you know, in their best selves, to take care of people, well rested, looked after, and all that sort of stuff. Now that's a different question. So there's been lots of protests around the world. In Finland, they have increased the salaries to a amount which I think that people should be quite happy about, especially because it's the starting salary, which is raised by quite a large amount. But, you know, every year with inflation and all this sort of things, it's 10, 15, 20 years from now, it's going to be the same thing, unless they sort of develop a protocol where they meet the inflation meet the salary with the inflation.
They could change this attitude of innovation earlier on during nursing education. I believe we could have our future nurses innovate in a way to improve the working quality for healthcare professionals, which in turn will improve patient care. This is the key to making our future nurses the stakeholders within the future development of the healthcare system. So, what is innovation? It's a bit of an ambiguous word that can mean a lot of different things to many different people. But simply put it, innovation is looking at a problem, understanding it, and trying to make it better. And if you make it better, that's innovation. Innovation can be applied to something which already exists, or can be used to develop something completely new. But before we go deeper into this topic, let me tell you all a story which inspired me to have this speech here today. When I started my final internship for my nursing studies at the end of 2020, I had an interview with the ward manager on the first day. One of the questions which she asked me was, "So Ben, where do you see yourself going in the next 5 to 10 years?" Honestly, I had to think about it for a little while. And then I told her, well, to be honest, I don't think I can be a nurse forever. It's really hard work, like really, really hard, both physically and emotionally. But I am passionate about healthcare and would love to pursue a future career in healthcare innovation and technology. And yes, I know some of you might think it's a little bit strange for a near graduate to be planning on leaving his career on the first day of his internship. And you know what she said? Well, she said, "Oh, I see. I'm not too sure about this whole innovation thing. I'm not really a big fan." Whoa, okay. I was taken aback. You see, that's what I wanted to do. The egotistical part of me wanted to say, "What do you mean you don't like innovation? You don't want to improve the working quality for healthcare professionals, which in turn will improve patient care?" Well, I didn't say that, obviously. Instead, I asked her one simple question, and that was, why? And what she told me gave me the biggest light bulb moment. She said, well, too often a business person or an engineer comes to me with a new technology or innovative idea, and more often than not, it's not very user-friendly, or it just adds more to our workload. Okay, so I'm standing there and I'm thinking, ding! This is the moment that I realized there's a huge disconnect between the developer and the end user within the healthcare sector. In fact, this isn't the first time I've gotten this kind of response. Throughout my studies and now my career, I've often recognized that there's a bit of a frustration factor whenever new technologies or processes are introduced. So on our days full of making reports, taking patients' vitals, communicating with doctors, physiotherapists, family members, taking patients' vitals again, and charting, and God, am I forgetting something? Well, that's honestly on a good day. But most of the time, we're covering for our colleagues who are away on sick leave due to burnout, taking on extra administrative roles because hospitals are trying to save money, and answering call bells. The call bells. Especially to independent patients who all of a sudden can't do anything for themselves anymore. So if there's anybody out there who knows a nurse, which most of you probably do.
Yeah, when it comes to that innovation part, it's funny that that does like maybe there's just a difference in the interpretation for like when it comes to your ward manager.
Yeah.
Like how she sees the innovation. But like if you look at what happened during the corona, I don't know if you have heard about this news.
No, I haven't.
So there's a nurse as well, Sari Roos, who kind of like figure out how the corona shot can be distributed to more people. So when you have the vial,
Right.
so how you can have more shots from that small vial. The method was applied. It's now been adopted in Dubai. But yeah, somehow she learned we can, instead of like 5 shots, we can now have 10. So like one vial where you can have like, let's say 2 shots or 3 shots.
Right.
Then you can make it into 6 shots.
Right.
5 or 6 shots.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of like the news that I remember reading long time ago during the corona. So isn't this kind of like an innovation?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
She's looking at a problem and looking in a different way to save resources. So that's and in turn that then saves money for the entire healthcare system. So yeah, that's definitely innovative thinking at its finest.
Kind of like it gave me the impression that necessarily you don't want nurses to kind of like solution in their daily work, in this way. That's kind of like my impression. So
they want us to, of course, think in innovative ways. I think it would be silly to say that they don't want us to think in innovative. They don't want us to think in innovative ways at all. But how do they actually, like, what is the process of achieving something like this?
Yeah,
it's very, very difficult and very bureaucratic to be able to achieve something like this, and that's why you don't really hear that many stories about nurses coming up with new innovative ideas or ways to save money and stuff like this, because we're already so overworked. We're already burning out. A lot of people are leaving the profession. And and they're not giving us the opportunity to innovate. This is a very good thing, but this is a very rare case.
But this is a very good example. Like, okay, probably what type of like innovations like the nurses are wondering or contemplating while they're at work,
Yeah, definitely. And it doesn't have to be a technology or
exactly
like a new huge thing, but anything just like
something sexy.
Yeah, like something like this is something that is really useful for the healthcare system as a whole.
New technologies or processes are introduced. So on our days full of making reports, taking patients' vitals, communicating with doctors, physiotherapists, family members, taking patients' vitals again, and charting, and God, am I forgetting something? Well, that's honestly on a good day. But most of the time, we're covering for our colleagues who are away on sick leave due to burnout, taking on extra administrative roles because hospitals are trying to save money, and answering call bells. The call bells. Especially to independent patients who all of a sudden can't do anything for themselves anymore. So if there's anybody out there who knows a nurse, which most of you probably do, go ahead and ask them to share a story with you about call bells and these kinds of patients. They're often quite amusing, but at the time, so frustrating. Adding a new technology or process on top of all of this, especially when they're going through beta stage flaws, only adds on to the headache. And you see, nursing's changing. It's not the same that it was 20 to 30 years ago. Neither is the healthcare system, and it seems like education is not quite caught up. A lot of new technologies are being introduced, and most of nurses' time is still being spent completing mundane and repetitive tasks. In addition to this, we're seeing an aging population, we're seeing an increase in the cost of care, patients' needs are more demanding, and a shortage in healthcare staff. However, we could have these repetitive and mundane tasks of charting, aided by AI, and technologies as small as a ring taking patients' vitals. This would hopefully leave more time for nurses to communicate and provide care for their patients, but also give them an opportunity to solve problems within their organizations. In fact, the World Health Organization estimates that by 2030, there's going to be a global healthcare shortage, with 9 million of those being nursing specific. This is caused by experienced nurses coming towards their retirement, a poor retention rate of new professionals, and less people entering the field altogether. It's not looking very good. So we're at a point now where we can no longer wait and...
Did you see any issues when there's the retention rate is like bad? Did you see that manifesting in the ward?
Well, for example, a lot of people that I studied with are no longer nurses.
Okay, so those people...
I'd say about half of the people that I graduated with have, 30-40% of the people that I studied with are either struggling or they are looking at a new career path. Yeah, so they worked for 1.5, 2 years and they went back to study or just do this or that, you know?
Do they come to that conclusion exactly when they have graduated that, okay, this is not actually my thing, or...
It's the lifestyle of nurses is not very sustainable.
Do you have 3 shifts?
3 shifts.
Yeah.
So there's morning, afternoon, and then night, and then graveyard shift. Luckily, I've never sat a graveyard shift, even as a student. I refuse to do them because when we're in our internships, we don't get paid. So I thought, why would I sit here in the graveyard shift and sacrifice my own health and well-being to basically, you know, where I could just be there in the day and learn exactly the same thing when it's more active anyways. There's lots of different approaches to solving this kind of problem. And I've understood that in Finland, they're looking at getting nurses from overseas to move here and work.
But isn't that just like
putting a Band-Aid on the problem?
Exactly.
They're not actually solving the true problem which is going on.
We're at a point now where these advancements in technologies have to happen. But who are the ones who should be driving these advancements in technologies? Well, the answer is frontline healthcare workers, nurses. We're the ones who have been using all of the technologies which have been introduced thus far. We work with them every day, see where their flaws are, and some of us might have pretty good ideas on how to make them better. But most importantly, us nurses are the ones who truly understand what aspects of our jobs can be replaced with future technologies. If we can combine the frontline experience of nurses with the innovative approaches of business people and engineers, just imagine the improvements we could see. We could actually start solving the problems nurses face every day by including them, the end user, within the development phase. So that comes now to my main question. How do we solve this multi-dimensional issue? It is quite a big one. Well, a good start would be by looking into our education system. From my experience going through my bachelor degree in nursing, they take a bunch of nursing students where a nurse in the front of the class teaches them about nursing. And it makes sense. But what this does is it creates a nursing bubble within the university, and sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to penetrate through that barrier. What it does is it narrows your path to where what you learn is only useful for that profession without exploration of problem solving within the industry. As a nursing student going through a bachelor degree, you're merely handed the tools and taught how to use them. There's very little emphasis on being able to look at that tool and thinking, aha, this would work much better if it was made like this. And here's...
Did you have those situations while you were working?
Looking at how things could be.
Yeah.
Definitely. It's always, it was going through my mind, especially when I was a nurse anesthetist, like in the surgery room.
Right.
You know, when it comes to administering medication and the different sort of tools that we're using to measure the heart rate or the brain activity and stuff like this. I mean, even changing. So for example, one thing, when you have the heart monitor on when you're in surgery, if I grab that wire and I shake it, it messes everything up.
Okay.
So if that was, for example, Bluetooth,
Ah.
I mean, small things like this.
Speech to text should be already implementable. But,
Absolutely.
But
So a doctor will see a patient,
right.
and then they will speak into a voice recorder,
And then
they upload it to the computer,
Okay.
and then the nurse listens to that recording and types it down.
Wow.
Yep. I did that when I was working in Taus in Tampere in the post-surgical ward in children's post-surgical ward. That's what we did. Yeah. So me with my limited Finnish listening to some doctor like struggling big time.
Okay. The doctor could like manually just record what he or she is talking about, but when he or she uploads the file, the audio file, then the app will then just turn that
Into text.
Yeah,
That would be
that.
really useful. It would
Yeah.
save hours from your day.
Universities are networking havens. We're literally working in establishments where we have people working on business and marketing, IT, engineering, design, culture, healthcare, and that is only the tip of the iceberg. As a student, I was lucky enough to be a part of a group who were really keen on extracurricular innovation projects. We had a diverse group of students, myself a nurse, 2 industrial designers, a cultural manager, and a health tech engineer. This experience taught me so much about the importance of networking and how to work within a multi-professional team. And I couldn't help but think that every single student should have an opportunity like this and solve real life problems.
So that was actually with the original Metes crew.
Yep.
When we first launched and, things were going a little bit slowly, we were working with Atte, who had a company in the Arabia campus. And, there was the PPE shortage here in Finland. So he came up with the solution that we should 3D print face visors for healthcare professionals. So, I mean, even though the project itself didn't, become this whole big thing, getting the prototype, going to hospitals and giving them the prototypes to try out was already a really big achievement.
Same time, we also established a non-profit which looked at enriching the innovative and entrepreneurial culture amongst the university students.
Metes.
I
Shouts out to Metes.
was lucky to have an experience like this. And I should acknowledge that there are the beginnings of innovation education within nursing studies, but it's at its infancy stage and not held as a priority within the classroom. So if there's any nursing educators out there, in fact, all educators who aren't already doing this, if there's one thing I would like to ask is that you let your students out of that bubble. Make them professionally mix.
Did you got any lecturers to lecture you out of the bubble, nursing bubble?
None of the nursing lecturers did, but I mean, the closest thing that we came to that was actually through the innovation course.
Yeah.
And that was something more that I grabbed myself the opportunity rather than sort of enforcing, is that kind of the bad term here, but like enforcing that to happen.
Yeah.
Really trying to get the students to be working with other degree programs.
Yeah.
Match, interact, network, and work on projects with students going through different courses within your university. From my experience in the projects that I did with my colleagues, I can see a huge benefit in this kind of cross-course collaboration. What might come out of it can be truly special, and the connections you get from them can last a lifetime. Now, when you really think about it, how can we develop easily adoptable technologies for nurses if we never get a chance to learn how to really sit down and work within a multi-professional team? In our future careers as healthcare professionals, when we come across a potential problem, we can draw from those past experiences and networks we gained as students to at least get started with the innovation process.
One thing came to my mind. Who do you think, or have you been able to sort of like identify that who are at the moment creating those healthcare innovations?
Well, at the moment, it's the big health tech companies.
And are they nurses, or do they have healthcare background?
They do have nurses working there, but the ones who are coming up with the big ideas and really getting them forwards are the engineers and product designers.
Okay.
But how much they're actually interacting with frontline healthcare workers is another question. So basically what I'm saying in this topic is that we need to educate nurses on how to be able to communicate with these people.
Right. The population is getting older. Where do you see that the nursing industry is changing when the population is growing older? The nurses who are becoming old themselves are needing nursing services. So how the nursing has to change in that setting or in that context?
So in that context, because we're coming to a phase now where there's going to be a huge nursing shortage.
Yes.
So there's not enough nurses. So what's the other option to fix this problem? Well, we need technology. So one thing that's happening is that we are developing more technologies and medicines where patients can take care of themselves at home. And I also think that's a really good thing for our generation, because I would argue that in a sense, we want, when we're old and we need more treatments, we would rather be at home and do it ourselves rather than need to make the trips to the hospital to get, depending on what kind of disease you have.
Yeah.
I think we're moving more towards people taking care of, we're moving more towards a situation where the technologies allow the patient to be able to take care of themselves at home. There's always going to be nurses.
And then what will be the position of nurses or the role of the nurses in that setting?
They would be basically working in the healthcare clinic to be consulting directly with the patients, giving them instructions on how these things go, asking the patients, how's the treatment going, this kind of thing. But I believe that in the future, when technologies do get better, it's going to be done in a manner where was I going? That we won't need as many nurses, because more patients are taking care of themselves at home. The work that's actually done in the hospital is done much more efficiently and safely, where nurses can take care of more patients at the same time.
Within the strategy. However, education is not an end-all solution. The solution lies in a more integrative approach where education, technology, governance, leadership, laws, finances are all taken into consideration. But these are all entire TEDx talks in themselves and outside of my personal experience. So if there's anybody out there listening who's an expert within the field, I would like to invite somebody to come up here and speak about how we can start solving these issues. We need to get this ball rolling because time is seriously starting to run out. And now for myself as a new professional within the field, if there's a message that I would like to share, that is that if you're a startup, innovator, business person, engineer, or anybody working on a healthcare-related technology or service, is to get in contact with the nurse. Ask us, how can this product or service be made?
If you're a nurse working in a ward or in a hospital, so how person could get in contact with you?
Everybody knows a nurse. Or then there needs to be programs integrated into the hospitals where they can have these matchmaking events.
Yeah, but at the moment there's not necessarily any type of purposeful facilitation or
From my experience, there was not very much facilitation between hospitals and health tech companies and startups to basically develop these things. From my knowledge, there was basically none.
Yeah.
Or then you really have to go looking for it yourself.
Yeah. But as you said, everybody probably knows a nurse, so that is a good point, though.
Yeah.
To suit our needs better. Trust me, we want to help. That's kind of why we're nurses to begin with. And while I'm on the topic, I would also like to encourage nurses and students to get more involved. Find like-minded people in societies. These might be part of the hospital you're working for or within your local university. And if you have a business or innovation idea, share it. Speak to people and find other services within your community. There are healthcare-related hackathons, incubators, and other kinds of services to help you construct these ideas better. Now, studies have shown that innovation empowers nurses when it looks at ways of improving patient care, technologies, and processes. However, this is only possible with financial support, healthcare leaders promoting an environment where intellectual creativity is promoted, and employees get the recognition and prestige that they deserve. When I've spoken to nurses as a student and now as a professional, it seems like there's something preventing nurses from achieving this. There's something fundamentally preventing nurses from innovating more. Nurses are overworked, burning out, underpaid, often unappreciated with their own organizations, especially within the public sector. Ouch. But most importantly, we aren't offered the opportunity.
There was like a long list of overworked,
burning out,
underpaid. There's 3.
Underpaid, often unappreciated with their own organizations, especially within the public sector. But most importantly, we aren't offered the opportunity.
And no opportunity. Yeah. 5. There's a lot. There's a lot. Can I say the same list about other profession or industry? Not necessarily.
Maybe not necessarily, but I mean, every industry has their own problems. But this is, of course, the one that I've witnessed in the.
But these are quite
sector.
Fundamental issues.
Yeah, they are. They are fundamental. You know, these are things that should always be the priority. In any organization.
To truly demonstrate our potential, as AI and technologies assume many tasks of nurses in the near future, we need to educate and facilitate our future nurses to be the stakeholders within the future development of the healthcare system. Our future nurses will be the healthcare information integrators, healthcare consultants, health coaches, and providers of human care, supported by these technologies and AI, not replaced by them. One of the first human interactions you have in life is with a nurse in the maternity ward. And one of your last will be with a nurse by your bedside. The way we support our nurses in society is a choice. So please, help us nurses so we can help you innovate. Let's build a better future together. Thank you.
Good job, Ben.
Wow, that was amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing video. I like it. If there will be a like button, I will press that.
That quote was inspired by a philosopher.
Yeah.
Alan Watts. Life is the journey from the maternity ward and a bunch of stuff happening in between, and then you die. So that's basically where that last quote was inspired from.
That was the TED Talk, and tell us about how did it affected your life? So you got headhunted, but do you really believe that it was due to this video?
Well, it wasn't.
It wasn't?
No,
okay.
They found me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, they found me on LinkedIn randomly, and I spoke to the HR person, and I said, "Oh, hi, yeah. Nice to meet you. Did you find me through my TED Talk?" And then she was like, "You have a TED Talk?" And I was like, "Yeah, here's the link. Share it with everybody."
Awesome.
So she's like, "No, I just found you on LinkedIn Finder, and I was searching for people with your profession." So that's also a thing for current nurses who are looking at going into another sector within the healthcare industry. That get a LinkedIn, seriously, and be somewhat, active there. So if you're lucky, somebody is going to contact you sooner or later.
But however, you can use the TED Talk. If you have a TED Talk, you can use it as an awesome icebreaker.
Yeah, definitely. And a selling point.
Yeah, exactly. Like every time everyone, like random people are asking, like, "Oh, did you find me through TED Talk?" Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, because what was happening was, after the TED Talk, I had like so many people contacting me.
Yeah.
People were talking about their startup ideas and they wanted me in their team. And, some of them were good. Some of them were not so good.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people wanted to get in contact with me because of that.
Yeah.
So then when this HR person from Baxter messaged me, I assumed it was because of my TED Talk, but
exactly.
it wasn't. I was just lucky. And I guess, I don't know I have no idea what the sort of algorithm in LinkedIn is, but if you're more active on it, I don't know if you like appear on more searches or whatever. But yeah, I was really lucky to have had this opportunity and go up there and speak. And I've been speaking to a lot of people in the States, different nurses in the States who are basically working on what I'm talking about in this speech. There's
so nurses. So do you believe that nurses have gained more focus or more spotlight?
I think that
after the video or through this video.
I think that these ideas have been lingering for quite some time.
Yeah.
But really coming out and speaking about it in such a public and large platform has not been done in this manner yet regarding this topic. I mean, this topic of the nursing crisis has been spoken about for a long time.
Yeah.
The idea of nurses within an innovation has been spoken about before, but then how to apply these things together and how to move forwards, especially within the healthcare, in the education sector for nurses, has not really been sort of talked about yet.
Yeah. And how do you see that? Has it gained more spotlight in Finland, especially?
I have not seen.
Okay.
anything.
So
I mean,
COVID was sort of like an exception in the sense that that it raised the nurses to the spotlight, but now it has flatlined.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know what you mean by raising the nurses to the spotlight. It's like, oh yeah, round of applause for our heroes. Here's a you are a hero pin. Like, that's basically how they were. So, and then they're like, well, I can't pay my bills with this pin.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Well, coming back to those five the list of 5 points, like that nurses are underpaid, unappreciated,
overworked, burning out.
So that these things will at least be tried to be solved.
I mean, yes, I've learned a lot. The most important thing, obviously, but one of the most important things is, okay, I'm not that smart. I'm seriously, I'm not that smart. I'm just brave.
Yeah.
You when it comes to speaking about important things and going and doing a TEDx talk, it just comes down to, being brave and doing it and taking risks. That's what it's real in the end of the day, that's the most important thing that I learned in this. It's just get yourself out there. That's how I did it. And again, I'm not that smart, so if I can do it, seriously, and this thing is like obviously oversaid, but it's true. Like, I'm not that smart, and if I can do it, there's a lot of people that can do it.
For sure.
A lot of people can do this.
Exactly.
They just need to be brave.
Yeah, take a stand, make a statement, be open with the ideas, I believe. And what was the most memorable thing or success or experience in this TED Talk?
going out and actually doing it, being with the cameras and everything. That was definitely
Yeah.
the highlight of the whole thing. You know, I had been practicing and writing the speech for about 6 months before I did it.
I thank you, Ben, very much for
Thank you very much.
joining the stream. And,
Thanks for everybody for coming in and watching.
Yep. So see you next time then from Topi
Peace.
Podcast. Thank you very much.